Hi, are you preparing for your OET speaking subtest? Many times, candidates lose easy marks by making some fundamental errors while speaking. Don't worry, there's an easy fix for it. In today's video, we're going to highlight 5 key mistakes that our candidates make, and I'll give you suggestions on how to improve upon it. Let's not waste any more time, let's jump right into it. One thing I tell all my students is that we need to maintain a warm and empathetic tone, especially when you're informing them about a diagnosis. The issue is, you sound very formal or very robotic at most times. For example, let's look at a patient who was just diagnosed with diabetes. If you tell him, you have diabetes, you need to take medications regularly, that sounds quite dull. Instead of that, you can tell them, I understand that this diagnosis might be quite difficult for you to listen to at this moment. But don't worry, I'll help you throughout this process. The second issue that we commonly see is the overuse of medical jargon. Remember, it is not prohibited from using medical terms, but it would always be helpful for your patient or the listener to understand the complexities of their condition without making it seem too difficult to understand. For example, do not tell your patient you're having atrial fibrillation. Instead of that, you can tell them you're having irregular heart rhythm. That sounds much more simpler, and the patient will not have any difficulties in understanding what their condition is. The third issue that we regularly see is that when it comes to being an active listener. Many times our students or candidates are not being active listeners. It is very important to be empathetic while listening to the patient's concerns and make sure that you do not interrupt or speak over them. If they voice their concern, make sure that you reflect their feelings in a comfortable way. You can tell them, I understand that you're feeling anxious, but let me walk you through step by step about what you can expect moving on. The fourth issue that we regularly see is that candidates are in a rush or they swiftly want to end their role play. Yes, there is the pressure of the 5 minutes hanging over your head, but you do not want it to dictate terms while you are speaking. So instead of that, you can slow down, take regular pauses, and make sure that the patient is understanding whatever you have explained. So what can you say here? You can tell them, I know I've given you a lot of information to process, but would you like it if I gave you some more clarity? Or do you want me to repeat anything that I've explained to you? The fifth common issue that we regularly see is that when it comes to providing reassurance or advice. Many times when we provide information to the patient, we usually do not give a reasoning behind it. For example, when you're telling the patient, you need to be nil-peroral prior to the procedure. That is not enough. You need to explain why they need to be nil-peroral or fasting. That is to maybe prevent aspiration or choking at the time of the procedure. Or else, when you're asking them to take medicines, instead of just telling them, you need to start taking medicines for your condition, you can tell them, this is a very common occurrence when this condition occurs. So make sure that you're taking the medicines as prescribed by the doctor in order to prevent further reoccurrences or worsening or progression of your symptoms. And that's it. Now you have a clear idea about the 5 common mistakes in the OET speaking subtest and how to fix them. Follow the steps that we have provided you and practice perfectly, and you will be improving your communication skills. Follow these tips and you won't need a doctor to fix your OET scores. Until we see you again in the new video, all the best.